Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Travel Time Stories. If this is your first time tuning in, I invite you to go back and check out my previous episodes. On this week's episode, I will share more about myself, offer a travel tip, and share the story of my very first cruise, the good, the bad, the ugly. I'm your host, Shannon from Texas, and thank you for tuning in. So grab your favorite beverage and let's get into it. Who's ready to go on their first cruise? I sure was. August 2014, I took my first cruise with my husband Jeff. I booked this trip as a surprise to celebrate our 20-year anniversary. Some ladies are lucky to have men who are romantic, remember special occasions, and surprise them with things. However, I'm not one of those. This has always caused a sore spot in our 32-year marriage. Milestone occasions have always been important to me. He forgot our 10-year anniversary. No card, nothing, zilch. To avoid a repeat of this for our 20th anniversary, I took matters into my own hands and booked a cruise. The only thing he had to do was make sure to put in for vacation time at work. Having never cruised before, I'm just going to be honest, I had no clue what I was doing or what to expect. I just picked based on price and the port stop. I was not aware of the differences in cabins, ships, cruise lines, excursions, or even what to pack. This put us on the Carnival Dream ship sailing out of New Orleans for 7 days. I booked an outside cabin so we would have a porthole window, as I was worried an inside cabin would feel claustrophobic. We live in Houston and decided we would drive to New Orleans and stay the night prior to our cruise. I had been to New Orleans before on a trip with my sister Ann, but this would be the first time Jeff is visiting New Orleans. What an experience he was about to have. Yes, folks, that means a misadventure is coming up. We arrived in New Orleans, and I had booked us a room in the French Quarter at the Inn on Ann Street. It is a beautiful boutique hotel and is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The building was originally built in 1830 and is the essence of New Orleans, with wrought iron balconies, hanging plants, and Creole architecture. It's a short walk to Bourbon Street, which puts you close to all the action, but far enough that you can have a peaceful rest when you return back. We had an amazing stay here, and I highly recommend it if you're planning a trip to New Orleans. I'll put the link in the description below. New Orleans is a wonderful place rich in history, amazing food, some of the best in the country, incredible people, classic architecture, and music. The city is always bustling, but at night, it can be like where the wild things are. When visiting, stay vigilant, as some prey on tourists. I have encountered both pickpockets and scammers in the city. We headed over to Jackson Square in the French Quarter, where you can see all the wonderful street performers, take a carriage ride, get your palm read by one of the many psychics, or relax on a bench by the waterfront. It was here that we encountered the Shoeshine Man. Warning, they can be relentless and will do everything they can to try and trick you to give them money. We honestly never carry cash, unless we head to a specific place where we know it will be needed. We had no cash on us at this time. We were sitting on a bench, and this guy comes over and starts by telling Jeff what a lucky man he is to have such a beautiful wife. This has immediately put me on guard, because I never saw myself in that way, nor have I ever had a strange man say that to me. I am genuinely an introverted, guarded person, but I have a pretty good gift of discernment when it comes to others. Jeff is the complete opposite. Very outgoing, never meets a stranger, women flirt with him, and he loves to talk. He responded the way I suspect most husbands do when someone compliments their wife and told the guy he agreed. As we started to walk away, the guy stopped us and asked if he could shine Jeff's shoes, which we said no thank you. I mean, Jeff was wearing a pair of cheap sneakers, not even leather, and not the type of shoes you shine. The guy insisted again, and we politely said no and explained we have no cash and his shoes do not need shining. Once again, we try to walk away, but the guy again stops us and says, "Look, there's an ATM over there. You can get some cash." We let the guy know we are not getting money for you, and we don't want our shoes shined. The guy says, "Sorry, man. Do you like jokes? Let me tell you a joke before you go." So Jeff said, "Sure, but let him know we're not giving you money." And the guy replies, "I get it. I just want to put a smile on your pretty wife's face." So he tells the joke. Honestly, I can't even remember what the joke was, because as soon as he was done and we started to walk away, he started screaming for the cops and shouting that we owed him money, which had people staring and pointing. We were both shaken up by the incident, but got out of there quickly and didn't let it ruin our night. We grabbed a juicy burger and a drink at Margaritaville and then took a walk on Bourbon Street so Jeff could see the nightlife vibe, which included some topless women and a glimpse of Larry Flint's Hustler Club before we turned in for the night. The next morning, we headed to Café du Monde for some café au lait, which is a 50-50 blend of coffee with chicory and milk, and their famous beignets, the perfect way to start the day before we headed to the port and got on our ship. We had our first argument trying to find the port parking in New Orleans. The GPS was sending us around in a circle, and we both got very irritated. But eventually we figured it out. After parking and dropping off our bags with the porters, we made our way inside the terminal. Please make sure you tip your porters. We always tip $2 to $5 per bag every time we travel. Make sure you have all your paperwork prior to getting to the port, because if you don't, you won't get on board and they will not hold the ship for you. Thankfully, I had done my research beforehand since we were traveling without passports and made sure we had our birth certificate, our driver's license, and our boarding passes. I also had to bring a copy of our marriage license since my birth certificate only shows my maiden name and none of my other ID have my maiden name on it. During the check-in process, we were surprised to learn we had been given an upgrade to a deluxe outside cabin. When I booked our trip, I had selected the guaranteed outside cabin. A guaranteed outside cabin, or any cabin, always is the cheapest, but you don't get to pick your room number or the area of the ship. The cruise line does that for you. So if you are okay with this aspect, then you can save some money. This gamble paid off for us. Not only did we get a great rate, but also we were given the upgrade to the deluxe cabin, which is the best cabin in that category. I think maybe this was because we had said we were celebrating our anniversary on this cruise, but I'm really not sure. After checking in, as you're heading to the gangway to board the ship, they always have a photo op to take a welcome aboard pic. We snapped our pic and then walked down the long gangway to board the ship. My dream of being on a cruise ship was about to come true. The excitement was overwhelming, and it starts the moment you arrive at port and see the ship. You're in awe at the sheer size of it. The anticipation builds as you go through the check-in process. And when you're walking along the gangway, it truly becomes real that you are getting on this ship. My favorite part is that first step onto the ship. The music is blaring, the staff are greeting you, and you see the atrium for the first time. I love to video this part on each of my trips so I can replay the reactions later. My jaw hits the floor each time at the beauty of the ship, and you immediately feel like you are a VIP. You enter the foyer, also known as the atrium, and see beautiful crystal chandeliers, glass elevators, gorgeous staircases, a large bar, and people buzzing about. There are so many sights, sounds, and wonderful smells colliding at once. It is sensory overload, but in a good way. The first thing you need to do after boarding is find your muster station and complete your muster drill. The ship cannot leave the port until all passengers have completed their muster drill. And there will be a bunch of people who fail to do this, and their names will be called over the intercom, so do not be one of those people. It takes less than 5 minutes to do the training now, as it's on the app. Also, if you do not do it, they will shut down your sign and sell card and you won't be able to make any purchases until you get this cleared. If you've not sailed before, then you may be wondering, why would someone not get this done? Well, they get on board and the first two things people do are get food and drink. Then you forget because you get distracted by the pool, the drink, the music, and dancing, or just exploring the ship. As the ship pulls out of port, there is always a sail-away party up on the Lido deck. This is where the main pool and large movie screen TV are located. Each evening, there is usually a dive-in movie showing. The ship offers so many activities, amenities, and food, it is hard to get bored. It truly is like a floating city. But if you enjoy peace and quiet, you can find that too. Curious about our deluxe cabin? Well, let me fill you in. Stepping into our cabin for the first time, I was really surprised at how roomy it was. We had a large picture window, a queen-size bed, a nice sofa which folded out to a bed, and a coffee table. There was a large vanity, a mini bar, 2 closets, and 2 bathrooms. Yes, I said 2 bathrooms. The first bathroom was a typical cabin bathroom with a toilet, shower, and sink. The second bathroom, or half bath as they call it, had a nice bathtub and a sink. Having the second bathroom was a lifesaver when getting ready for dinners and shows. Are you ready for the main dining room experience? I was excited, but on the way, I started to have a panic attack at the thought of dining at a table with strangers. I'm very shy and awkward around new people, and I get overwhelmed easily with crowds and loud places. Jeff was great. He held my hand tightly, told me to breathe with him, and reminded me I can do this. We were seated at a table with 9 other people. Everyone introduced themselves and where they were from. We were all couples except for one group of 3, and for 6 of us, this was our very first cruise. To kick things off for dinner, the wait staff put on a show with singing and dancing, and it's a lot of fun and a great icebreaker. The menu each night consists of several choices for each course, appetizer, entree, and dessert, and is always different. The seasoned cruisers let us know you can order more than one item for each course. We took advantage of this each night, and it allowed us to try many amazing foods. You get the same waiters each night, so they really get to know you and what your preferences are, and this makes the experience more personal. We made great friends with the other couples from our table and hung out with them for the remainder of the cruise. We stay in contact via Facebook, but sadly have not gotten to travel together again. To those couples, if you are listening, I give you cheers as you are part of what made our cruise so memorable. Our first port stop was Montego Bay, Jamaica. Tell me the song Kokomo didn't just pop into your head. It happens to me every time I hear the name Montego Bay. Our excursion for Jamaica was extreme ziplining, and I booked it independently instead of through the cruise line and saved 50%. This is something Jeff had always wanted to do. I was excited to try it, but the acrophobia was in high gear. The company had a driver pick us up at the port and take us to the location in the lush jungle. We traveled some very scary, narrow roads to get there, but our driver was a pro. When I say narrow, I am not exaggerating. If we had stuck our hands out the window, we could have touched the vehicles passing by us. At the zip line, we had a training safety briefing, got our assigned 2 guides, grabbed our equipment, and away we went to the first line. Since I had booked separately from the cruise line, we were the only 2 in our group and got to go ahead of the large cruise line group. We were treated like VIPs, and the larger cruise line group was commenting about how we got to get a private tour. I was literally shaking at the first line, and I honestly didn't think I was going to be able to do it, and in my head was trying to plan a way out. This first line was the lowest and shortest line. Our first guide zipped across like a pro, doing it backwards to show off. I pleaded with Jeff that I didn't think I could do it, but he simply said, "Yes, you can," and then he took off across the line. Here I am, standing in the middle of the Jamaican jungle alone, with a stranger, miles from anything, and my husband is now across on the other mountain. I told myself, you have no other choice. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down, closed my eyes, and stepped off the edge of the platform. I let out a huge scream as I started gliding across and then opened my eyes. The adrenaline was pumping fast through my veins, and I felt invincible. I was flying like a bird. The beautiful green, vibrant jungle was all around me as I soared through the treetops. I could see for miles as the wind whipped through my hair, and poof, just like that, I landed on the other side, laughing uncontrolled. The rest of the lines were a breeze after that, and I was brave enough to go backwards on one of them. When it was time to head back to the port, I told Jeff to tip our 2 guys for an amazing job. We had already discussed, if they had done a good job, to tip $10 per person. But Jeff made the mistake of giving one guide a $20 bill and asking him to split it with the other guide, to which he replied no, and that the other guide needed their own tip. So Jeff gave the other one a $20 bill too. As we're getting back into our car to head back, our 2 guides asked the driver if they could get a ride down the mountain to their home, as they were done for the day. Curious after they got out, I asked our driver how could they be done for the day when it was still so early. The zip line had only taken a couple hours. Our driver laughed and said, "The tip you gave them was enough for them to get by for 1 month." This being my first time outside of the U.S., I was shocked to realize that a $20 bill could be that valuable. We still had several hours left in the port and really wanted to see the beach, so we asked our driver if he could take us to one of the local beaches instead of back to the port. He dropped us at one of the resorts with beach access and pointed out to Jeff that there were men standing around the exit area, some in black pants and some in blue pants, and told us they were the taxi drivers, but to only use the ones wearing black pants as they are reliable and would not try to gouge us on the price, and specifically told us it should only cost $10 per person to return to the port from there. The beach was not what we were expecting. There were no chairs, no umbrellas, no food close by, The water was not clear and beautiful as you expect it in the Caribbean. It was very murky and had a nasty odor. I refused to even get in the water. I was so hot and miserable as I sat there on my towel in the sand and festered. After about an hour, I told Jeff I wanted to leave, so we went to get a taxi. I had already snapped at Jeff several times over the last hour, taking my disappointment and frustration out on him, so now he was irritated too. Remember the different color pants? Well, we didn't, and went with the wrong guy who was parked far away. He told us the cost would be double what we expected, and I tried to bargain with him, but he was firm. Take it or leave it. Too tired to walk back to the resort for another taxi, we agreed. I told Jeff before we got in to not tip him since he was overcharging us on the price. As we're heading back, the driver asked how we're doing. We told him not good. He proceeds to say, "Hey, I sing you a song to make you feel better, and if you like, you tip your driver, and if not, no tip." I asked him to please not sing, as I just wanted a quiet ride. But as luck would have it, he sang anyway, the whole ride. And all it did was make me more irritated. So as we pulled into the port and got out of the taxi, and Jeff gave the guy $40, the agreed upon price, no tip, the guy started trying to make a scene, since we didn't tip him. And Jeff was trying to appease him and about to give him a tip. I grabbed Jeff's arm and told him, "No more money." Then I turned to the driver and in a mocking way repeated, "Hey, I sing you a song to make you feel better. And if you like, you tip your driver, and if not, no tip." And I said, "I didn't like, so no tip." And we walked back to the ship. Not my finest hour, and I felt really bad after I calmed down. I think we've all had these moments from time to time. Our second stop was the Cayman Islands. This is a tender port, which means that the ship doesn't pull up to a dock. Instead, it anchors offshore, and tender boats come out to the ship and pick up passengers to ferry them to the shore. It's a fun experience. We did not book an excursion here because there aren't a lot of options for this port. One of the popular things here is visiting Hell. Yes, you heard that right. There is a town called Hell, and you can buy a postcard and have it mailed back home showing it came from Hell. Well, I think of the Cayman Islands, I picture rich people and offshore bank accounts, and this would be accurate. Our plan was to buy some local rum to take back home and do some shopping. We found some great rum, but our shopping experience was horrendous. So we just took our rum and went back to the ship. The shops literally treated us like we were planning to shoplift. I mean, it was ridiculous. I will never get off in Cayman Islands ever again. Our last stop was at Cozumel. I was most excited for this one, as I had booked an excursion to swim with dolphins, something I'd always wanted to do. I'm not a strong swimmer, but I love the water. It turns out you cannot wear eyeglasses in the water with the dolphins, and unfortunately, without my glasses, everything is just a big blur. One at a time, you must swim out into the deep water and hold your arm out, and when the dolphin starts approaching, grab the fin and they pull you along in the water. I didn't feel safe or comfortable doing this without my glasses, so I let the trainer know I was skipping my turn and explained why. They were so nice and let me sit on this ledge in the water and brought the dolphin over to me, and I was allowed to hold it on my lap and pet it. It was a dream come true. And then getting to see the pictures of Jeff gliding in the water with the dolphin was incredible. Sea days on the ship are filled with going to shows such as Name That Tune, where Jeff won second place, bingo, trivia, dancing, the casino, sunbathing, the pool, eating, comedy shows, listening to music, people watching, and duck hunting. These are just a few of the things we like to do, but there are many other things to choose from. Let us get to my travel tip for today, and then we'll delve into some more of my personal story. I have learned that trips are not just for the rich. They are for those who prioritize and plan. I always plan my trips 1 to 2 years ahead of time and buy travel insurance, which is not expensive as you may think. This way, I do not lose any money if we're unable to go on the trip. I put the minimum deposit required down, and depending on the type of trip, it can be as little as $50 per person up to $250 per person. And this gives me plenty of time to pay off the balance. For a 7-day cruise, you have until 90 days prior to the trip to pay it off. Now, back to my personal story. You do not realize as a kid or a teen just how impactful the choices you make are and how much they change the course of your life. This realization comes when you're an adult and you are already on a course you never wanted to be on but cannot undo what got you there. I've wanted to tell my story for many years now, to bring complete healing to myself and to hopefully help others who might be in a similar situation or who have gone through similar struggles. I know sharing my story will open myself up to judgment and criticism, but I plan to be open, raw, and real. Life is messy and rough at times, but you can overcome it. Your path can start out one way in life due to how you were raised, outside environment, or choices you made, but you don't have to stay on that path. You can make changes and go on a different path. It is never too late. No matter what your beliefs are, there is one fact in this world. This world contains both light and darkness. To tell my story, I have to start at the beginning, because the only way out is through, and to go through, we have to go back. Previously, I mentioned that I was adopted and have 13 siblings. Yes, you heard that number correct, 13. We were not all raised together, and we are not all related. Confused? Let me break it down for you. I was adopted as a newborn into a family who already had 5 children of their own, making me the baby of the family. My siblings were all much older than me. In fact, most had children of their own at the time. My nieces and nephews were closer to my age and felt more like my brothers and sisters, while my actual siblings felt more like aunts and uncles. My youngest brother and I are 13 years apart. Do not get me wrong, I love them dearly, but it was a very weird dynamic to grow up in. My adopted parents, whom I call Mama and Daddy, were amazing, loving, and spoiled me rotten. And no, I'm not afraid to admit that. They were so much older than all my friends' parents, and people would often mistake them for my grandparents. My favorite story Mama used to tell me was one of my adoption finalization days. My parents were both 48 when they adopted me. And like I said, my youngest brother was 13 at the time, and the other siblings were grown and married, so they were basically starting over with me being a newborn. The judge said to my mama, "Why would you want to start over at your age? Are you crazy?" My mama simply replied that she was not crazy, but all she had ever known was raising babies, and this was her last chance to raise one more. The judge immediately granted the finalization. I thought about that a lot the year I turned 48 and said a special thanks to my parents in heaven for starting over with me because I couldn't do it. I graduated in May of 1993, and in September of that year when school started back, I found Mama crying. And when I asked her what was wrong, she stated this is the first time in 42 years that she was not going to buy school supplies. That reality was hard to imagine. She had been taking care of kids and buying school supplies for that long. It was something she genuinely enjoyed doing. Speaking of my adoption, my youngest brother, who's a great storyteller, loves to tell everyone that he is the reason I was adopted. According to him, my parents asked him if they should adopt me or not, and he told them yes, he wanted me as a sister. I never correct him when he tells the story and just nod and play along. However, I have my mama's journals and know the truth. When my parents told him they were going to adopt me, he was not happy. But he later changed his mind. My birth siblings total 8. I have 7 half-siblings from my birth mother, whose ages range from 30 to 50, and I have 1 half-sibling from my birth father. She likes to claim she is his only daughter, but I have DNA proof that says otherwise. I would not find out about any of them until I was in my 20s and started my journey to find my birth family. My tip for anyone who has adopted children and you haven't told them yet, don't tell them when they are first becoming a teenager, because they are already an emotional mess with raging hormones, and adding something like this to the mix is a recipe for disaster, or at least it was for me. But more on that next time. My hope is for everyone to make memories for life through travel, so reach out and let me help you make your next travel memory. Tune in again to learn some more about me, hear more about each of my trips, and meet other people in my life as they share their travel experiences. Please don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, and share with your friends. Leave a comment below to let me know what you want to hear more of, or tell me about your travel story. I might just read it on the podcast. Until next time.